Everyone, and welcome back to the Built on Fitness show, where we take an unfiltered look into business insights and emerging trends for the fitness entrepreneur. My name's Stu Brower.
I'm Mandi.
And we are back with you guys again. This is our 8th episode. We're 8 in here. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking with you guys about branding and client acquisition. Those are each of those topics could have their own hour-long dedicated conversation in and of themselves. But our goal for today is to take these two, very generally the more unfamiliar construct of owning a studio or a gym, right? The coaching, the retention, the movement analysis, all that stuff is generally way more in the wheelhouse of every studio and gym owner. That's the stuff they enjoy. It's why they got into it. And then you have conversations of like, the financials and your taxes. And brand and client acquisition systems. You got that down too, right? And it's like, not really. We have to learn it. It's generally a learned skill. So our goal for today is to break down some of the operational definitions around those terms, give you a really good, clear understanding so you kind of have an idea what that would look like for your business, how they work in the average buying cycle. So there's a pretty standard buying cycle we'll talk about that has 3 parts, what each one plays in. And then we're going to kind of move into maybe a little bit more conflict-based conversation, talking about how things like the retention, the coaching quality, that movement analysis isn't as big of a lever that's going to move your gym in a growth pattern or add more revenue as maybe some of us would like to, we'd like to think so. But yeah, we're going to go back and forth on this. I'm excited to do it. Mandi, you ready?
I'm ready.
Rock and roll. Okay. So let's start with brand. I really like the operational definition of a brand is it is a person's gut feeling about an organization, product, or service. That's all it is. You say, Apple to somebody, what do they think? They think sleek, they think technology, they think sexy retina screens, right? You say New York Yankees, they're thinking gritty, loudmouth New Yorker with a hot dog in his beer, pinstripes, Jason Giambi, whatever it may be. Like every brand is just what comes into someone's brain. And hopefully for all the gyms and studios listening, you're doing a really good job at making sure that is a consistent imagery in the brain of people, whether they're clients of yours, ex-clients, prospects, or just passerbys who have maybe heard of your brand. So that's brand. Mandi, when you think of brand, and not even specific to your gym, but when you think of the term brand as an entrepreneur, what are the main things that kind of come to your head?
I think it's making sure that it's authentic. Right? Like brand, I always want to make sure my brand, and I'm always looking for authentic brands, right? What is something that people live and breathe by what they also produce? I think about individual person as well, right? An individual person's their own brand. And you get those gut feelings from them with that. Whether it be from a first interaction that kind of creates that understanding of what you think about them. And then it will continue to grow. So it's authenticity to me is a big thing with brand itself.
I agree. It's like you ever meet somebody and for whatever reason, even though it might've been a very brief interaction, they walk away and you're like, I don't like that guy. I don't know what it is. I don't like his face. I don't like his vibe. I just didn't like him. And that's okay. His brand, the little things he did within that very short interaction turned you off, and that's okay. Not everyone is going to love every brand. But I love that. That's a great example. The authenticity is huge, especially now. I talk about people, I talk about to gym owners about this. People don't buy brands, they join them.
Right.
For example, if you're really into philanthropy and you've got to buy a new pair of shoes and you want something lightweight, trendy, and will do good things for the world, you might buy Tom's. Right? Like, because that's a brand that's doing good things in the world and they make cool shoes. So like that is, I think you're 100% right on the authenticity part. Now, when we step away from brand and you've established that, you've got a consistent, authentic brand, people understand what you stand for, what you don't stand for. The next thing that goes with that, and it kind of walks hand in hand, is what we'd call a client acquisition system, or maybe people have heard of it as a client acquisition strategy. And all that is how do I find the people that I want, the avatar for my brand, the ideal customer? How do I find them? How do I make sure they become aware of me? That's step one in the buying cycle. Right. How do I continue to speak to them through social media, email, newsletters, my physical presence, and make them even consider me as their fitness provider.
Right.
And then how do I eventually sell them, which would be a sales and lead nurturing process. So, to recap here, we have awareness is step 1 in the buying cycle, consideration is step 2, and purchase is step 3. And all client acquisition system is, and the buzzword for this is funnel. It's essentially the funnel for how people become aware of you, they consider you, and then they purchase from you. And I know I could say this openly and honestly. In the beginning for me, Mandi, I literally was just like, I don't know. They Google me, and I don't know. My members refer us a ton. Like, we get a lot of referrals. So that's my client acquisition system, and at least that was it for me for a while.
Sure. I think, and there's probably still a lot of gyms that's it, right? People who whether it's they haven't gone to a paid marketing option, or have tried it and it wasn't something that they either wanted to obtain or could obtain, right, or continue. And I see that all the time with customers, right? As they've tried something and it's failed, so they've gone back to an organic route. But I think there's many gyms that are still at that point. But definitely honing in and focusing on those things make the biggest difference.
100%. And a referral should always be like, you should be doing such a great job that your clients are referring people to you. Hopefully you're just getting walk-ins due to your physical location or because they've heard things about you. Like, those are great. I always looked at it. I always refer to it as like, it's as if you had a driver. You didn't drive your own car. You just had a driver. You sat in the back seat, you played on your phone, you did whatever. And guess what? You don't really know how, but you got from A to B. And then one day your driver quits. And you're like, shit, I don't know how to get around town at all. Like, I haven't driven in forever. So when you're relying on a referral and when you're relying on just organic, happen by chance Google search, that's great. We want that. But a client acquisition strategy is actually understanding your avatar customers so well that you have a good idea as to where they're going to first interact with you, become aware of you. And then what is the media or content or, communication you need to have with them to make them want to consider you more? And then obviously they make contact with you and you put them through your sales process so that they purchase. So those are the two big operational definitions we want to start you guys with brand and client acquisition system. And now I kind of want to take it back a step. And we had a really good discussion on this during this pre-show meeting that we have before we roll these podcasts out for you guys. But I'm of the belief that brand and client acquisition system needs to be the top thing a gym or studio owner focuses on. And I'm going to back up my statement on it. And I want you to give me your take on it, Mandi. But I believe it needs to be a main focus because I rarely ever, if I ask a gym, how's your retention? Mm-hmm. Like, it's great. We're doing good. Like, we retain, and I would consider 90% of your members per month is a D-. Right. About 94% of your members per month is a C. 95 or so is around a B. And then when you get to like 97 and 98 or above, you're at an A+. I don't believe in 100% retention. That's not a thing. 99% retention, I've never seen it. But I have seen gyms hold a solid 97% retention month over month. And that's a great, well dialed in gym. I don't believe retention and the coaching quality and those things need to be the main focus for most gyms that are currently having growth issues. Maybe when you start off, you're new in town, you got to get your reputation out there. Sure. But once you're there and you're like, cool, we got 110 members, but I actually need like 220 for me to be able to pay for my kids' braces and hire 2 more coaches and all that. Retention is not the name of the game. Mm-hmm. It's not, in my opinion. It's establish your brand and then just figure out your client acquisition system. What are your thoughts? Because I know retention is just like most gyms. I know that's a huge factor of something that you and your staff focus on all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've seen in the 4 years that we've owned our gym, right? We purchased it, got to know the members, understood like where we wanted to make our changes, had our business plan, made those changes, price increase, et cetera, et cetera. And then realized, okay, we're in a good spot. And then we started to focus on growing. But then we realized that our brand wasn't really what we wanted. It wasn't our culture, right? Like backing up to our culture conversation, the brand wasn't representing the actual culture that we wanted to have within the facility. And 2020 was a big time for us to reevaluate that.
So that was a perfect time to be able to do that too, all the downtime.
Exactly. And so I've seen our transition, right, to where we were ready to grow. And then we didn't have to focus on retention as much, and we could focus on this client acquisition. And then we were getting clients, and we were building a process, that whole 6-week challenge within our, after our first year. And I was like, this isn't us, right? Like, this is not us. I do not want I don't want to keep pushing that whole 6-week challenge mindset. It's just not what we wanted. So then we took that step back, like I said, and we revisited who we wanted to be. What did our brand want to represent? And now we've kind of honed in on that retention area, and established it. So now we can start focusing on that client acquisition. So I think that when you ask me what do I think about it, it comes with, like, I think that there's phases of it, truthfully, and recognizing where your gym is, right? You might have a client acquisition process, you just don't realize what it is. And once you actually figure out what it is, it might be not what you would expect and what you actually want to be happening. And that's an opportunity to refocus on it.
That's a great point. Historically, for everyone, just to give context for anyone who's maybe newer to this, they own a studio or they're an operator at a gym, whatever it may be. When Mandi talks about the 6-week challenge, circa 4 years ago, many digital marketing companies were selling at scale. We're talking tens of 50s of hundreds of thousands of gyms, this client acquisition system that was offering like a 6-week challenge for X amount of money. And if you didn't lose, or if you lost the 20 pounds, then you got the money back. And it was a thing that I would say a big portion of the independently owned gym and studio market subscribed to. Right. Now, what we found out is that offer actually works out really well for a bunch of sales psychology reasons we don't have to get into in this podcast, but it worked at an aggressive level. So there's a lot of studio and gym owners that are listening to me say, like, retention's not as important as brand and client acquisition. And they might have done one of these 6-week challenge marketing schemes. And they're like, Stu, we got 75 leads in a month. I signed up 32 people and they all canceled a month later. Like, no. It wasn't your retention that was a problem. Your problem was you had a fire hose as a client acquisition system.
Right. I mean, you planned for that. And that's the thing is what gyms who have done that in the past, right, don't realize is you plan to have them potentially cancel. Your goal is that you hope when funneling all these people in that you're going to be able to also, that you've focused and honed in on your retention aspect. But the thing is these people really just wanted people in the gym and they hadn't focused on that retention aspect yet. So they hadn't like won that over. And so then it was just a shit show.
Yeah.
But it was just a dumpster fire, truthfully, once they actually got there. Many, you plan to allow them to leave or to give them their money back because you have a good product and what you can do can help them, so not to, again, like you said, focus on it, but yeah.
No, but it's a good thing because that is going to be in the history of the gym and studio era. When we talk about marketing, that is a significant period of time where that was the go-to. And anyone listening to this, you probably saw every gym or studio in town running something similar. 6-week challenge, 42-day challenge. Like, it was a challenge, which is, again, it's a great front-end offer from a marketing psychology perspective. But the one thing that didn't come with it, if anyone saw any of these ads and you actually saw the photo or the video, you read the copywriting, you went to the landing page, it never reflected the true brand of that gym or studio, which again goes back to just support what Mandi and I are saying, is that brand and client acquisition have to be gone hand in hand. If your brand is, we have very high quality coaching, we keep our numbers small, we give you all the personalized attention you could possibly imagine, we're client first. But then you have this 6-week challenge landing page that talks, a completely different game. And it brings in a ton of people that don't identify with your true brand because the messaging that they were brought in from was just one of the posts made by this client acquisition system that didn't pair up with who you were as an actual business. So for those that got burnt and you think it was a retention problem, you went through that process of 6-week challenges and you're like, man, retention was the hardest thing with these people. I would tell you, don't beat yourself up. It was not a retention issue on your problem. You unfortunately subscribed to a water hose that was giving you the wrong water. These were not your probably ideal clients that you had envisioned and previously been speaking to with your social media and content. But with that, I will say that there's still, even in having this, because I've had this conversation recently, there's still a battle that every gym and studio owner has, Mandy. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, between getting new clients and retaining the old ones, right? Like that's the constant in and out, right? For you guys, how do you guys think of retention and new memberships in, right? Like, so there's a net, right? So like we gained 10, we lost 4, we netted 6. Netting 6 is a good month. If you netted 6 new members every single month, by the end of the year, you're sitting at 72 new memberships.
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, the way Shaka looks at it specifically now, I also think that it also depends on the dynamic of the location of where the gym is, right? So that's always been something that I came from, a gym that was outskirts of the city. And so you got to think outskirts of the city, there's less apartments, there's more homeowners, there's more, more people that live within in a vicinity of your gym that don't have plans of leaving, right? So my mind had to shift a little bit with retention and what retention meant based on my clientele, right? My avatar, more so because I get 6-week captain's course or 6-month captain's course. So I know these people are coming in and signing up, and in 6 months I have to,
because of the military base nearby.
Correct, military base, as well as I have apartments all around where I live, right? Or where our gym is. And so and you have 6-month year leases. So you have to plan for that as well. So I look at it in the way that I look at retention is, okay, and in school, right? We're right next to VCU. When did we get a push of new members? Typically is when we're going to also see a loss of a higher number of members in that month, but it's also a good time because the gym at that point we've retained for the year. And the gym at that point also more new people are moving in. So it's kind of like this hamster wheel that when we think of retention it's looking 3, 6, 9, 12 months previously, and knowing what timeline that's looking like and being able to look at data over the course of the last few years as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question fully, but
no, it does. That's 100% great. I mean, and so, because that's such an individual question, right? It's not like you were going to be able to give us some industry standard, response, because you're having to respond to your market conditions, your what I'd call nomadic or cyclical clientele, right? There's a cycle in which they move through. Military, college town, gyms and studios all know this. But that was a perfect response. You guys have looked at it and you've obviously analyzed it and you understand where the grow months and slow months and high signups and high cancellations are going to come, and you batten down the hatches and you prepare for that.
Yeah. I'll say too, the other thing is like, and then focusing, okay, well, how many members can I comfortably lose and gain every month, understanding that number and targeting the neighborhoods outside of our immediate area for those long-term retention focused memberships, right? So I have to look at it in 2 different ways. There's a clientele that I know that if I continue to work on all of the things that our culture represents and continue to feed into that, right, that I'm going to retain these members already. There's a group of members that I know I could work my ass off every single day and do everything that I could, but it's not going to change the fact that this member is moving across to the entire other side of the city,
yes.
And it's just not at that point. So I think looking at it in 2 different ways too, based on where your business is located, is also a point.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so if you're still following along with us and I see what you guys are saying, that retention and all that is definitely a very important part of it. However, we do have to accept the limitations of a customer. There is no such thing as a customer for life. And if there is, it's a 0.0001% type number. Everybody cancels on a long enough timeline. That is just the cold, hard facts, kids. They get old, they move, they get kids, they change their mind. They want to go mountain biking now, whatever it may be. So if that's the case, let's talk to everyone real quick. And I'm going to be giving you guys like a 30,000 foot view of building a brand and then building a client acquisition system. And again, like I said in the beginning, these are 2 things that would need their own topics. Let's just think of it like this: based on what you currently have, not having to spend any extra money, this is how I would approach it. I'd love to get your feedback on what you think here, Mandi. But for a brand, if you are sitting there right now and you're just like, okay, I don't have any money to hire a graphic designer. I can't improve my logos. I can't change the colors. I can't get fancy, cool artwork on the wall with my taglines on it. Then how am I supposed to brand? I would tell you very simply put, get a 3 to 6 hour meeting in different slots going with your main team, your coaches, your staff, any mentors you have, and really sit down and figure out the core values of the business. And these, I just like telling people core values are like the personality. If I went and met Mandi up in VA and we were going to go get a beer together and I was going to meet, and Mandi brought a friend. She'd be like, oh, my buddy Stu's coming. You'll like him. You might think he's a dick at first, but once you get to know him, he's a really good guy. Like that.
That's how I'm pretty sure that's how I like introduced you to Megan when I seen you. I'm like, listen, he can be a little rough, but just get it. He's a good guy and he knows what he's talking about.
But that just speaks to, good or bad. That is just kind of it's authentically who I am and my brand, quote unquote, as a person. So just think of that as the business. How would people describe your business in the terms like personalities? Oh, they're a lot of fun there, or they're very serious. Oh, they do this or they do that. And I would tell you to sit down and come up with 3 to 5 of those. And you'll hear people say, my brand's core values are integrity, perseverance. We do what we say and we say what we mean what we do, like that kind of stuff, whatever kind of phrases and words you want to describe the characteristics, and then sit down with those core values and come up with 3 ways every single week, every single day or month that the brand is going to live that. And I'll give you guys an example. One of my core values here at Urban Movement is be endearing. We define that at my gym as putting the customer first always. 3 ways that we live that every day. We have someone dedicated to opening the front door for people. So they come in and someone opens the front door for you when you come in, greet you. Hey, how's it going? We don't sit behind the front desk and wait for them to walk to us. We do that. None of my staff is allowed to park in the accessible parking lot in front or behind the building. We park down the street to free up all the parking spaces conveniently located for my customers. And at number 3, we provide a cold, spa scented soaked towel at the end of every workout and a sweat towel, a dry one before. And that's just this little spa hospitality thing we do with the idea of I want my brand to live that core value of be endearing. So I would tell you guys, go through that practice, come up with 3 to 5 core values that really describe who you are. And then I want you to go ahead and create 3 different ways that on either a daily or weekly level, you are living that core value in your actions to your customer. Mandi, when you think of your brand and stuff like that, what is something that you guys do on a regular basis that really kind of just punches the customer in the face with one of your core values that, personify your brand?
Yeah, that's a good one. So one of the things is we host a kettlebell class. And despite kettlebell is very different than CrossFit, and we are a CrossFit gym, right? But despite whatever membership any of our members are on, this is a class that you can space out very far, right? And so distance isn't necessarily an issue with that. And it's something that we encourage and invite all new members to every Sunday. Because it's an opportunity at that point, right, to make them and to give them an opportunity to meet all different members from different classes.
Got it.
So within a core value, that's what stands out to me the most. That is something that
you have this ritualistic thing, that this special class that you run, and it's kind of an indoctrination kind of thing. You invite the new members to it, and it's something where, again, their story, when they're like, yeah, I joined this gym, and they had me go to this one special class using these kettleballs, kettlebells, whatever, the ignorant client would call them, and just be like, it was kind of cool. I'd never done something like that, and it was cool. It was just a special class for new members, allowed me to meet some of the other new members. I think that's a cool ritual. It's
a low impact exercise. It's something that it's a sweat sesh.
Yeah.
That you're not necessarily embarrassed or don't know how to do the movement. Sure. So it's very, very low barrier to entry. And it's just something that has given us that opportunity to allow the new members to feel, despite, again, what membership they chose, it's a class we have dedicated to knowing that this may put them over one class in that month.
Yeah.
But it's available to them as a new member because we want them to come in and be able to meet other people.
Yeah. And not to put words in the mouth, but let's say one of your core values is something to the degree of we meet our members where they are. Right? This would be a great way of living that core value, because when that member then goes and talks about you and says how awesome this unique class was that was just for new members. Remember, guys, what is a brand? It is a person's gut feeling about a product, company, or service. And that now becomes their gut feeling. These guys are just great. Like, they knew I was new to this. They had this class designed for this. I got to learn something new, meet other new people. It made me feel very much a part of it. I love that example. Client acquisition system, guys, if you're going to put on a client acquisition system on the cheap, it's very, very simple. It essentially goes to this. It goes to quality first and then quantity. And I'm talking of any marketing effort. It could be posting on social media. It could be setting up a table outside of a busy, farmer's market. It could be going and hosting pop-up workouts in a park for free, as long as they fill out your waiver and you get the lead information from them. Whatever marketing avenue you want to go down, it is all about quality first and then quantity. Every good client acquisition system is designed not to scale at first. So you don't think, okay, how can I get the most people through this funnel? First, make a very small funnel that is built with quality. Make those social media posts great images, great copywriting, takes them to a really well done landing page. If it's in person, like a pop-up workout at a brewery, make sure everyone has a great time. The music is awesome. The coaches were inspirational. The workouts were fun, and people stuck around afterwards to socialize with those people. And you got the lead information from the waiver, right? Like, just dial in the quality of your funnel first and then increase the quantity. Like, I'll see people like, Stu, I post 6 times a day on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I saw them. They're absolutely horrible. They're literally the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Like, stop posting 6 times on Instagram. I'd rather you post once every 6 days with something that poor. Now let's increase the quality. Let's flip it. Whatever we need to do to fix that. Good. Now, can you give me 1 quality post a day for a month? Good. Now take it to 2 quality posts a day for a month. And then I normally recommend people top out at the most at 3 a day, an AM, an afternoon, and a PM. And that's it. Like, if you guys want a client acquisitions funnel, and we're supposed to be giving you this 30,000 foot view up because we don't know your gyms and studios individually. That's what I'd recommend. Manny, for your gym and what you've seen, and also working with gym owners, what is probably the most lowest hanging fruit outside of referral and physical location, attracting people in, that you've heard of client acquisition, systems or methods that, like you said earlier, you said it beautifully, like, you might have a client acquisition system you don't even know, like, that's actually one, but that is your system.
Right. I would say that having an option that's a low barrier to entry, right? So that you can connect with more people. If you have, and it's okay if you don't have an option that's a low barrier to entry and it's going to require you to have personal training up front. Just remember that there's going to be a group of people that you don't have an option to attract and retain if that's not in their budget, or just for their first month. If you have to do 5 personal training sessions, if you don't have something that's outside of that and they can't afford 5 personal training sessions, you're going to lose that member. Not that that might be your brand and your model and all of those things, but at the same time, just realize that you're limited, you're already limited. But then other than that, ways that are low hanging fruit. Trying to think about I know brand new gyms have done. Recently, I've been working with a gym, United Strength, on Tribe specifically, and he's extended, because of the holiday, he did a free drop-in and 1 free class in his gym. And he's been able to market that just out on social media so that his actual following already can share it. So that's one way I can think of. I don't know, you put me on the spot. Now I'm like.
No, I love that. That is essentially, again, just a great low hanging, easy example of what someone could do. Again, you essentially described, mainly let's go to the last one. They created a front end offer, one that probably they had an offer prior. They're giving it a try. They put it up on social media. They made it easy for their members to share. And that was the client acquisition system. They didn't have to go spend $100 with ClickFunnels. They didn't need to go ahead and do all this crazy stuff and run Facebook ads at $50 a day, balance. Like, no, they came up with a new front end offer that they hadn't offered before. So it's going to instantly cause a ripple. People like, oh, they never offer a free whatever. That I might take advantage of that now. And to your defect, you said make sure you lower the barrier entry. If the only way to get into your facility is paying expensive personal training or you have to buy a class, there's nothing wrong with that. No. Unfortunately, the best brands in the world are the ones that do that. Apple never has a sale.
Right.
SoulCycle, I don't care if it's your first class or your 1 millionth class and you've been the most loyal customer, you still spend $33 per ride plus a $3 shoe rental. Right. So there is no, but they have brand power that allows them to not have to market and lower the barrier to entry because everybody wants entry. So the supply and demand is in their favor. But for the average gym and studio owner listening to our show, we assume that maybe supply and demand is not always in your favor. And I think Mandi's, recommendation of lowering the barrier to entry, do a free workout at the brewery. Like that's their good taste. And then maybe invite them in for a free class afterwards, whatever it may be, so that people can dip the toe in your waters, see if they like it, and then proceed further with you. Ultimately, I hope for you guys listening here, this gives you a little better idea how we would recommend you start walking hand in hand with your branding and your client acquisition system. And if you have any questions on this or want further explanation, please don't hesitate to reach out, comment down below. We'll have our contact information in the show notes. But until we see you in the next episode, guys, have a great day. And we'll see you in the next Built on Fitness show episode.
Thank you.